Okay, good morning, guys. Good breakfast or good coffee this morning. This is gonna be 3-hour workshop. Um, so this is about modern way of testing, writing tests. Okay, so just to introduce myself first. Who am I? I'm Devlin Duldulao. I live and work in Oslo, Norway for more than 4 years. I'm originally from Philippines, Manila. I'm a Microsoft MVP, work for Inmera, which is a consultancy, and I've been doing this workshop as part of my job for 7 years now. But not only testing, right? It's like other things, like full stack development or mobile. So I have a lot of experience in teaching. And during the pandemic, got nowhere else to go in Oslo, Norway. It's cold. Yeah, you're gonna die freezing there if you don't have anything. So I decided to write some books. So yes, 1, 2, 3, and yeah, I don't recommend writing books. You're not gonna reach by writing book, but it's good for resume. I highly recommend writing it with someone. Don't do it alone. It's gonna make you crazy because you have this deadline of 1 chapter per week. So you can be like a co-author. So you can divide the chapters, like divide it by 4 or 3 by 2. So anyways, this is about automated testing in the modern world. Who are front-end developers here? Please raise your hands. Okay, good. Back-end developers. Okay, good also. Mobile developers, are there mobile developers like React-Native or whatever? No. In the back-end developers, what is stack? JavaScript, TypeScript, Node.js, or .NET? Java, Spring Boot, good. Okay, so how do I do this? So this presentation, this workshop is about advantages of writing tests, unit tests, and end-to-end tests, integration testing. But we'll be using mostly JavaScript. Is that okay? JavaScript is okay, right? You're gonna enjoy also the end-to-end test, the Playwright thing. It's a new tool. Yeah, and Bun. Bun is it's a new tool as of today, and I'm going to discuss also Bun. What is Bun? And it's who in the first place? Who have heard Bun here? BUN. Just a few. Yes, that's a good. That's why you're here, right? That's why you're here. We're busy working for our customers or for our company. We don't know what's happening in the software development world. There are a lot of things happening, like new tools, every now and then, every month, and these tools are making our lives easier. But how? Making compiling faster, building faster, everything faster, even downloading packages. That's why a lot of engineers are doing these improvements. Most of the time you'll hear, oh, in JavaScript community, every week there's a new framework, JavaScript framework, or new JavaScript libraries. Is it good or is it bad? It's bad for lazy people. It's like, oh, I don't want to learn again. There's something new. But you know what? JavaScript ecosystem is so big. There's so many developers that developers are constantly trying to improve the tooling, making things faster. And it's a good thing. There's piece by piece, there's an improvement. in the development tool. Like every month there's an improvement. Every month there's a new way of doing this. So yeah, the agenda today would be okay, slides, introduction of automated testing with different tools, and I'm going to give you a break of 7 minutes, because after the break will be activity of writing tests. And another activity would be do an E2E test or end-to-end test to any existing website. And of course, this is the last part, meaning you've already learned how to write tests, by showing you and doing also writing tests on your own, this first activity here that you can see. So, why do we have to write tests while developing applications? Who here are constantly writing tests for the projects? 30%. Is it enjoyable in the beginning? Enjoyable. So what's the okay? We're gonna talk about those challenges. Yeah, those don't encourage the other people who haven't written any tests yet that it's hard or it's not enjoyable. But yeah. Okay, so why do we have to write tests while developing applications? Catching bugs early, so this saves time and resources in the long run, right? It's investment. What else? Can you see it there or too small? It's okay. It's okay. Good tests require that your code is organized and loosely coupled, which is a best practice in software development. So I also hate writing tests before. I only see a little value of tests, but after a lot of experience and throughout the years, I've learned that writing code, I see that it's gonna force you to write clean code, because you have to decouple, you have to refactor this long function. Like sometimes you have a function like this big, and that's not gonna work in writing tests. You have to remove, you have to make sure that this function only does one thing. That's the idea of writing tests. This function has to do only one thing, so you have to remove things and group them together. This is called this cohesion. You don't put your kitchen knives or your spoon and your forks in the bedroom, right? In the living room. That's why in the house or in an apartment, you have this kitchen, all the tools in kitchen, like your oven or your cooking materials, your plates are in the kitchen, and your TV in the sofa, and your bed is in the bedroom, right? Or in the lab. Those are called cohesion because they belong together, they group together. That's also how you write tests. You group tests together so that you can test it after writing it. Okay? So that's the idea. You don't write big functions. You write several small functions and then in sequence them together so you can write tests. Okay? So that's the idea of cohesion. What else? Documentation. Developers can look at the tests to understand what each function or component is supposed to do. So it serves also as you have an official documentation, right? This is what I always say whenever we have a new onboarding developers. The first thing you're gonna look at the repo when you clone it, when you're like in a new company, onboarding, look at the README file, right? README file will tell you what the application is about and how to run the application. It sucks. Sometimes I encounter old projects with no README file. I don't know how to run this. I don't know what is this. And there's like missing folders and environment variables that is not documented. It's crazy. Don't be like those developers who don't write documentation, okay? And then they just leave the company, move to another company. Yeah, developers can look at tests to understand what each function or component is supposed to do. Confidence in changes in refactoring. You know, when you have a comprehensive suite of tests, you can make changes, updates, or refactor your code with confidence. So I'm just gonna guess, for those who are not writing tests, every time you refactor things or update things, you have to run the application, right, to see that it's working, right? In backend also, if you change something, if you refactor things, a router or a controller, or change the decorator, or even update your package, your packages, your libraries. For example, Maven or Gradle dependencies. When you change it, or in npm you change the libraries, you update it. You have to run the application, right? Just to see, okay, did I break something? Because you don't have tests. So tests helps you sleep at night. And you don't have to run the application. You just run the test. You know, if you refactor things, if you change something, or even added features. Sometimes when you're adding features, you have to change something in existing functionality, or like existing methods or function. Because, for example, you've seen like, oh, I can refactor this existing code so this can be reusable. For example, you change the code to make it an abstraction of some things, because you want to make it reusable, right? You change something and then you realize, oh, I want to add a parameter because I'm passing a parameter in a new feature, but this existing doesn't. So I'm going to add this optional parameter. Okay, I'm done writing. I'm going to write it or run it and see if it's working. Oh, it works. And I need to run it again just to see that the existing features is still running. So you're constantly in this idea, or in this situation where you always run your application just to see if the old features that you refactor, updated, or you change code is still working, right? Well, if you have code, you don't. If you have tests, integration tests or unit tests, you don't have to run the application. You know, you just have to run the tests. And if it's green, you see that's green, all green. Oh, okay, I didn't break anything. All functions still good. So that's another advantage of writing tests. It helps you write, it helps you refactor code, and you don't have to run the application anymore. Worse is if, you know what's worse? If it's an end-to-end flow, like a form, and it's a big form, you have to act like a user, filling up the form, and then submitting it just to see that it's working, right? That takes a lot of time. What if it's like a LinkedIn form, like a 5 pages of form that you have to submit, and you just change something and you have to run it again and do the filling up a form and then submitting it in. It's a lot of time being wasted if you don't have this upfront investment in writing these tests, right? So by the way, you can just raise your hand if you want to say something. You can interrupt me, okay? This like interactive conversation. So next would be preventing regression. A test will catch regression bugs before the software is released. Obviously, it catches bugs, so you don't have to, oh, there's a bug in the production, let's test it, let's fix it, and then write tests. So it catches bugs before the software is released. And tests, ensuring correct functionality. Tests validate that your app behaves as it should because of your tests that, for example, one feature, you have this test that it's, happy path, that it returns the value X. When you say happy path, it's the easiest way of writing tests because you're expecting the return value of that function. And another way of writing tests for that feature is to see that if you pass a wrong parameter or wrong value, if it will throw an error. So you also have to do that it throws an error if I add something like this, or for example, like a first name that with 300 characters, it's not supposed to be 300 characters. It should throw an error, right? In an API. Just to validate your app behaves as it should. What else? Better collaboration. Tests make it easier for other developers to understand your code, to collaborate with you. Write tests, also collaboration in the sense of reviewing your code also. You know, if you're a team leader, you should check that pull requests of developers have tests, if it's possible. If it's, everything has needed some budget. So in the beginning, you should talk to your project manager if writing tests is something that they can afford. Or most of the time, they should have a test. You should be able to convince them so that, everyone can sleep at night. What else? Tests are a crucial part of continuous integration and continuous deployment pipelines, allowing for safer, more reliable, and faster releases. So it doesn't make sense if you have CI/CD without tests. You're just building it online. So that's CI/CD. The concept of CI/CD is continuous integration with tests, and then you'll be able to deploy it automatically, right? That's the idea of CI/CD. So, but if you don't have tests, basically you're just building it there every time you have, merge, pull request has been merged, and then deploying it, right? And you don't know what you're deploying because you don't have tests. You just manually tested it. Anyways, how many you here have a manual tester in the company? Okay, mostly UI UX, who's testing it. Okay, quality assurance QA also. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes. Oh, yeah. Thanks for sharing. So yeah, there are people who has jobs who check, the functionality of the website, the APIs. So there you go. The idea here in CI/CD is you have tests, after building the source code, the application, and then running tests. Doesn't have to be unit tests. Could be like unit tests, integration tests, or end-to-end tests. As long as you have tests. So the investment in writing tests pays off by reducing debugging time, making updates safer and preventing issues from reaching your users. So that's the value of why do we have these write tests while developing applications. Now we move to test runners, Vitest and Playwright for modern automated testing in the front end. So for anyone here who's back-end developer and who has this team of front-end developers, you can suggest this. You can still benefit from this workshop by informing them or telling them or showing them that this tooling here exists and it makes our life easier. This Vitest, Playwright, and some of the tests here that I'm going to discuss. So yeah, please write it down if you can. So challenges in writing automated tests: time-consuming, learning curve, maintaining tests, writing meaningful tests, flaky tests. Flaky tests meaning you run the test, it passed, you run it again. For example, you run the test, it passed, then you go home, you went home, you came back this morning, you run again the test, it's not working anymore. You didn't touch anything, you didn't change anything, but it stopped working. And then you run it again and it passed. That's called flaky test. It changes every time you run it. It's weird, right? That's called flaky. Integration and end-to-end testing. End-to-end testing meaning it's the user story where a user, for example, lands on the home page, right? Click something, fill out something, add to cart something, and then went to a payment method and click submit. That's an end-to-end test. That's an end-to-end scenario, and you should be testing that also through this end-to-end testing. So Learning curve, yes, learning curve, especially for beginners, for junior developers. The learning curve here, mainly the setup. I would say the setup of the, because every testing library has its own setup. In my experience, the setup goes to integration testing and end-to-end testing. Integration, because for example, you're trying to call an HTTP request, this is for the front end. For example, the component you're testing has an Axios or a fetch API. So that's an integration test already. In the back end, integration test meaning you're sending queries to your databases. And that's a setup also that you have to do. So the learning curve here, okay, it's okay to set it up if you're just writing unit tests, but in integration tests, which is also important, you will notice that every library has its own setup, and it's a headache. There's so many things you have to do. Go to documentation, write this, write that, and mostly it doesn't work, and the error that you'll get doesn't help you. So this is gonna be a time-consuming for junior developers. So the part here of the job of the senior developers or tech lead is to set it up, to set it up and make sure that it's working, so that the junior developers will just start writing code. They're not gonna set it up. Also, there's a saying that, by the way, if you want to be a senior developer, you should know at least how to write tests, right? Which is true, because senior developers are the ones who be guiding the junior developers, because these are like new bloods. They don't know shit in this world, so you have to guide them. Make sure that you can pass down all the mistakes that you made in the beginning. For example, this setup that it's hurtful, that it takes you a lot of time, and yeah, so pass it down, set it up, teach the new incoming developers, junior developers, and then help them, so that they can feel how good writing tests is. Not, this is so hard, why I have to do this setup and it's not working. I don't know how to integrate it with a database. Should I connect this to the real database? Of course, no, right? You need the test database. Okay, so yeah, so we already focused on these things: learning curve and integration, end-to-end testing. Let's go to types of testing. So types of testing. Unit tests usually test the smallest pieces of testable software in the applications to ascertain whether they behave as expected, right? In front-end development, this could include testing individual functions or methods. In back-end also, small methods, right? So in the back-end, yeah, small methods or a static method, just to test it, like a helper or a utils. What is integration tests? So these tests focus on the interactions between different pieces of the application to make sure they work together properly. In the context of front-end development, this could mean testing how different components interact, or how a component interacts with a service or state management. So in the back end, this is, again, I mentioned earlier, services also. If you want to use a service, if you want to test a service, if you want to test also service connecting to the database. This is also what I've noticed or found out throughout my career, the value of interface. So I'm originally a .NET developer and a Java developer. And before, when I started coding interfaces, it's like, what the hell is interface? I already have classes. that interface doesn't have that value to me in the beginning. Not a big deal. Oh, I can just create classes. I don't need. Okay, I can have interfaces so that I can have these contracts, right? Contracts for my .NET application or Java application. And then I realized the value of these interfaces. So guys, for front-end developers here, if you haven't written any Java or .NET code, I think in TypeScript we have interfaces, by the way. So in back-end, the value of interface is to do this dependency injection, right? So dependency, so you can mock things. That's the value of interface. I just realized after a few years of writing code in the backend, in the .NET, I just realized that interfaces is for mocking. If it's for creating fake data so you can do integration tests. That's the value of interface. That's not like, okay, contract or whatever or interfaces that you can change in this solid principle. It changes its behavior, right? So that's the value of it. Interface. It's to help you write mocks when you're writing tests, because you can change the behavior of that interface to copy that behavior of interface and put it in the mock library. Mock it can be in the front end or in the back end. Mock is a library usually. It's in any programming language. You say mock, it's gonna mock you. It's going to help you create fake data so you can anticipate this fake data when you're writing tests. And normally just 2 objects when you're writing mocks. You don't write mocks and have this 100 objects in an array. Normally it's just 2, just for you to test it, right? So that's the use of mock, to help you this fake data, to create this array, fake these objects, and return it to your service. So the service will return it rather than the service going to the database or whatever. So that's the usefulness of interfaces for mocking, and that's part of integration tests. So end-to-end tests. End-to-end tests check the entire application from start to finish to ensure the overall system achieves its goals, right? As I mentioned earlier, a user from an email marketing department, emailing existing customers would click the link from the email, will land them in a homepage or whatever, and then that's the start of, you can do end-to-end tests if they can successfully go there, or if there's bugs along the way. So that's an end-to-end test in front-end terms. This would involve testing a user's journey through the application, likely involving multiple components and pages. Normally it's pages. It's like web scraping, and then telling the web scraper to go to follow this link, and then check again, web scrape again. So most of the end-to-end tests have this web scraping. That's what they do. They scrape the web and then check if you can assert what's the content of that page, or the button, or the color of the button, or whatever. Okay, another type of testing, component testing, falls somewhere between unit testing and integration testing. It involves testing an individual component in isolation, but unlike lower level unit tests, it often involves testing the component's rendering. So it's about rendering, user interaction and lifecycle methods, as well as any side effects or state changes the component might cause. Component testing is crucial in front-end testing, as it ensures each component works independently and can manage its state and props correctly. We're gonna do this in workshop later. Tools like Jest, coupled with React testing library, Enzyme, or Vitest utils are commonly used to write and execute component tests in JavaScript-based front-end applications. Yes, we're gonna do this later, and we're gonna use React. Sorry, guys, to those Angular lovers. This is a good. This is a good time for you to experience React. Okay, who's the Angular developers here? Okay. React, okay? Yes, Vue developers. Vue developers, that's good. Vue 3? Oh, you teach Vue, Vue.js. Hmm? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's good, that's good. That's good. Yeah, yeah, Vue.js is getting better now, the script tag. It makes the, the boilerplate, it removes the boilerplate, and now we have this very small code that you can write. It's Svelte. So this Vue.js 3 is like Svelte. Anyone here using Svelte in production? Yeah, Svelte. You know what? There's a saying in software development now. Things that you cannot go back to the original, for example, going to TypeScript, it's hard to go back to JavaScript once you learn and write TypeScript. And it's also hard to go to your JavaScript frameworks once you use Svelte. That's just like, it's a warning. It's a warning for everyone. Oh, once you do this, it's might hard for you to go back once you start writing Svelte, because it's really good if you experience it. Okay, so much for that. Okay, let's go back to original topic, testing, load tests. So load testing, this is for the back-end developers. Load testing primarily focuses on the back end, examining how the system behaves under significant load or requests. It helps to understand how the application performs under heavy traffic or data load, like DDoS or whatever. Not DDoS, but if the application will survive in let's say 1,000 requests in 3 seconds. It's just see if it's going to be consistent and still going to be performant. So load testing is also important. Normally you write this using Bash script or PowerShell script, and it's part of your CI/CD. So the idea here is you have you ever heard of this blue-green deployment? Blue-green deployment is you have your application in production, let's say an API write, and you have this in CI/CD, you just merge something, so it's building, it's passing, it's ready to deploy, and this application is in test environment or UAT or user acceptance test or testing. Yeah, maybe testing environment, but it's deployed. So blue-green idea is you can swap it without downtime, right? You will just automatically, if this in testing environment is good enough, it passed everything, especially this load test. So before this switching happen, right? Before the switching happen, normally what we do is we have a bash script or a shell script in our CI/CD, and that shell script will trigger, this request to the API in test environment. So it's just the script will just fire, for example, 2,000 requests in 2 seconds. That's really fast, and see if it's still, still alive. If it passes without any error, if it's still alive, automatically it will just switch, switch the production. And now the production is in the test environment, and that will be replaced by a new application once you have a pull request merge and then passing again. This will just replace the production that it's swapped into testing. So that's the idea of blue-green deployment. It's easily swap it without downtime. But before you swap it, of course, you have this load testing. Okay? Now we have Vitest here. So Vitest is a Vite-native unit test framework. It's fast. Guys, if you're not familiar with Vite is a bundler that's now very popular in JavaScript world. React defaulted to Vite from Webpack since last year. Angular is in the works of having this Vite so that it's going to be fast. So Vite has this O of 1 in terms of space and time complexity. When you say O of 1, it doesn't matter how big the application, the building's still gonna be consistent as, few milliseconds, right? Maybe 800 milliseconds. So it's O of 1. It doesn't matter how big it is. And the author of this Vite is the author of Vue.js, by the way. And Vue.js is also using this, obviously. So O of 1, no matter how big the application, when you change something in your JavaScript code or HTML, and you hit that Command S or Control S, saving in the keyboard, it will just show the changes automatically and very fast. Unlike in Webpack, the problem in Webpack, by the way, in front end, if you have a big application now, the changes normally takes few seconds. Few seconds enough for you to check your Instagram and Snapchat or whatever or WhatsApp, and it's not it's not gonna help us be productive because our focus, our attention is being drive away by this long building or long changes. Imagine, and there's a factor also if you're using not so good machine. Sometimes the hot module replacement takes 7 seconds. 7 seconds is enough for you to check your phone and see if you have notification, right? So the idea of Vite, this bundler, is to help you see the changes of your work immediately, instantly, no matter how big the application is. And this Vitest is using Vite under the hood as its test bundler or whatever. That's why Vitest is also fast. Features: drop-in replacement for Jest. Jest is like Karma in Angular, by the way. There's also a lot of documentation now that's gonna be default. I think in Angular world, they're removing the Karma, their own testing framework. They're leaning towards Jest, but not yet in Vitest. So works with Vite's config. You will get to use this later. ESM first, top level await. So you don't have to write await, and you have this function that invisible await. When you say this top level await terminology, guys, meaning the file itself has already an await, invisible await. So normally you write await before the function, right? Or before the method name. But when you say top level await, you don't have to write anything await. Or async, async. When you're writing methods that's asynchronous, you write async, right? So top level await meaning you can just await without writing async. Is that something make sense? Makes sense, right? So there's this invisible async in the file itself. That's why it's called top level await. Workers multi-threading. So this is very important. If you have 100 tests, you don't want the test to wait for each test to finish. If you can do multi-threading, that's really good. And also parallelism. If you can do, that's much better because multi-threading is still using one thread, but one CPU, one core, but it just looks like it's very fast. That's why it's multi-threading. Anyway, Jest compatible snapshot. So everything is compatible with Jest. Chai built in for assertions. You're gonna learn this later. Plus Jest spec compatible APIs. Code coverage via V8 and Istanbul. Istanbul, yes. It's like the same place, Istanbul in Turkey. Code coverage lets you know how many tests you've written, how the percentage, 80%, 60% in the code base. And normally the companies set their code coverage as like 80% or 75%, right? That's code coverage. Next, testing library. What is this testing library? So this is a set of utilities. So we can do component testing, easy. It's very ergonomic, which you will see later in the demo. It's just a helper tool for you to grab and query components. That's it. That's the use of this testing library. You don't have to use this, but you're gonna write a lot of code, and it's a headache not using this. This is just easy to use. Mock service worker. Mock service workers is an API mocking library. It allows you to write client-agnostic mocks and reuse them across any frameworks, tools, and environments. So yeah, for integration tests, there's happy path and override network behavior on a per test basis to test even the most trickiest of edge cases. So this MSW will just intercept HTTP requests, and then you can tell the mock to return this. So that's basically it. Mock service worker for intercepting HTTP requests. Okay, so if you have HTTP requests, it won't go to, for example, in the front end, you have this MSW. That request will not go to the back end, by the way. It's just in the browser and then return you this fake data. Playwright. So Playwright enables reliable end-to-end testing for modern web apps. So that's Playwright. There's another end-to-end testing framework in JavaScript that is good to use. It's called Cypress. So Cypress, Playwright are both modern that you can use, both good. Features, one API in any browsers or platforms, auto-wait, login once, code gen. This is good, the code gen. You will get to use this later, code gen. It will just generate code for you. Parallelism. So you don't want to run your tests in just one thread. You can do parallelism. So you have, for example, 4 tests running at the same time, or 5 tests, or 6 tests running at the same time, or 8, depending on how many cores or CPU you have. Okay, so that's Playwright. What about this Bun? So Bun is, this is new, by the way. Bun is an all-in-one JavaScript runtime and toolkit designed for speed, complete with this Bun is a bundler, a test runner, a Node.js compatible package manager, and it's a replacement for Node.js, by the way. And it's really fast. You should try this Bun. Bun is written in Zig programming language. It's a general purpose programming language in toolchain. And you would notice bundlers and toolings. So you would notice toolings in JavaScript are now written in Rust, in Sig, because before JavaScript, most of the time, that's what they use for JavaScript tooling. And there's a ceiling, and there's a reason why authors are, moving away from JavaScript in terms of toolings or bundling. Because JavaScript, single-threaded, there's a ceiling. There's this performance that you can do as in this, this ceiling. I mean, there's a ceiling in JavaScript that you cannot go as faster as that. That's it. And that doesn't help, that doesn't improve the tooling in JavaScript ecosystem. That's why a lot of developers now, authors are using Rust, which is a modern C++, using that, or Golang or Zig for creating JavaScript tools that we use right now in the front end. Vite is, by the way, it's written in Golang. Just to see how performant this Bun, this is not a hype. I tested it on my machine. It's really good for front end. ESB, Aerospec, so these are bundlers also. So just a benchmark here. So Bun ships with fast built-in Jest compatible test runner. Tests are executed with the Bun runtime and support the following features. So Bun aims for compatibility with Jest, but not everything is implemented right as of today. So one last thing in Bun. Right now, it supports Linux and Mac OS, and I think next month they're going to support Windows. For writing tests, it's just going to be like this, watch mode, Bun test watch. It's also in their documentation, by the way. Lifecycle hooks, they have this before all, before each, and after all. Before all meaning before, this is a function that will run before all the tests gonna happen. Before each is a function that runs automatically in every test. After each, after also, you can set up, later you will see how to use this before all, before each, and after all. So it's gonna move quick. Bond test matchers, it also has this not, to be, to equal, to contain, etc. Code coverage also for the bond, and you will do this also later in the workshop, in the coding part. Spy on also is part of this bond test. So it's possible to track calls to a function without replacing it with a mock. By using spy on to create a spy. These spies can be passed to, to have been called and to have been called times. That's how you use spy. Just checking if it runs. You're not gonna check what it's returning. You're just gonna check, did it run? Something like that. Sometimes you have to test it. UI and DOM testing also in DOM. Bun is compatible with popular UI testing libraries, HappyDOM, DOM testing library, React testing library, which is I showed you earlier. So yeah, we're gonna do some demo here. This is just really quick demo, and then I'm going to show you. We're gonna have a 5-minute break, and then, or maybe 5-minute break first. Is that okay? 5-minute break? Okay, so you can go to restroom and then come back. We're gonna start coding, okay? Is that okay? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, guys, if you have your laptop, just download this. You don't have to clone it, just download it. Go to GitHub. There's a like download zip, and you can open it. And if you don't know npm, it's from nodejs.org. I'm not sure if it's the, yeah, node.js.org. Oh, yes. Oh, the password of the Wi-Fi is the same as the Wi-Fi, but it's a small caps, for example. Hold on. PTH 2023, right? That's the Wi-Fi. The password is small PTH 2023. Yes. PTH Conf 2023. Okay, sorry, it's PTH Conf 2023. Small caps. Yeah. So I'm going to put here the Wi-Fi password is PTHConf 2023. Okay, now it's all good? Not yet. Oh, okay. Still installing. All good now, everyone? Can we continue now? Anyone here already good? Have done npm install? Okay, so first off would be you have to install the dependencies. Okay. Can do this. Go to your writing test markdown file, this writing test MD. You should see this. So we already did npm install, and we're going to install some packages. So these packages are just remove this P, by the way, and it's gonna be just like this. So copy this, and then copy, and then use this terminal. By the way, are you all using VS Code? You know how this works, right? Downloading the repo, using VS Code to open the repo, and then installing this packages here, npm I, Playwright. So we're going to use Playwright test. This is the library. Testing library DOM, we need this. Testing library Jest DOM. So most of these are for querying the components. Testing library React, testing library React hooks, testing library user event, Jest, coverage Istanbul, Vitest, UI, JS DOM, MSW. This JS DOM is for you to fake this browser behavior. And then MSW, the API mocking, right, that I mentioned earlier. It's a mock service worker, and Vitest. So I just need to copy this and make sure you don't copy the P, because I'm using PNPM, by the way. But by default, you have this npm, which is a node package manager, and then run this here, and then enter. So it's gonna be like, toot, like this. And then this dash D, capital D, meaning it's only going to be installed in the dependency, dev dependencies, by the way. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's getting error also. Can you do force here? I'm gonna force this. Can you do this? I'm just gonna. Oh yeah. So just forced it. With force, did it work with force like this? Right? Yeah. All good now with forced. So next would be writing this. We're going to update the Vite config. This is Vite config test, TS, configuration of Vite. So in Vitest, if you're not using Vite, by the way, it's gonna be Vitest. This is the configuration file. Sorry, Vite. What the Vitest.config.js. And this is for if you're not using Vite as the bundler, as the bundler. Yeah. This is what you're going to use. But since Vitest is using Vite, Vitest is using Vite config as where you can put configuration. Now add this reference types on the top. ///. This is for static typing. This is not just a comment, but this is, so this is now the Vitest. We're now using Vitest, and we're going to use unit testing first, integration, component testing, and then end-to-end testing later. All good with this? Now, let's move to test. You can just put this test here, including SRC, because this is the folder that we have all our components. And then this basically just telling the test runner that look for any files inside this SRC with this extension name, test or spec. Could be JS file, TS file, or TSX. Reference, this one. This. Again, this is for type safety. and then add this. Just remove this source setup test, just like this. It's okay. And I think with this one also. For test coverage, yes, you can put here. Oh. Yeah, and you have these other, yes, things here. Yeah, you can do that, so it will just fail if it didn't get the code coverage. So again, include meaning include this kind of files. Exclude, you can also tell which file to which folder to exclude. Why are we excluding this folder here? We're excluding this because this this E2E is for end-to-end testing. So we're excluding this from Jest, from Vitest. We're not going to run this E2E again. That's why we're excluding this. We're not going to run any tests here because the files here are similar to this. And the intention for this E2E is for end-to-end testing, not for Vitest. That's why we're excluding this, because this is a separate test framework, by the way. Vitest and the E2E, the unit testing and the end-to-end are two different, test runners. Globals, true. This is for any describe it that you will see later, describing the test, expecting what to return. Reporters, you can have a reporters here. This is going to be a static file automatically. It will be generated automatically here in your code base. And you can see the report of the test. Threads, multi-threading, yes, of course. But I think this is, by default, it's true. Coverage, yes, code coverage. We're going to use Istanbul as a provider. And there's another one, C8, I think. But most of the time, yeah, Istanbul. All good here? Okay, so we move now to what are we going to test is scroll here inside the SRC, helpers, compute. We're going to run some tests for this. This very basic test. This is just a function that says multiply these numbers. So for the unit testing, this is just an example because we don't have much time. We need to cover a lot of, testing scenarios here. Unit testing, right? You already have this, right? Compute test. There are compute test, compute TS. But we're going to write tests for this compute. So I need you to create a folder here. And then create a file. Name it compute.test.ts. okay, with compute.test.ts, and the code, it looks like this. So what we have to do is import the functionality, right? And then we're going to use this describe as a part of your .test file. So you don't get any squiggly here because this Vitest is helping you now, knowing this describe, this test, this expect. That's why you have this global set to true, right? Where is that again? This global set to true. So it's going to be like global, that the file would know the describe, the test, and expect. This describe, this is your test suite. It's called compute helper. And you can have multiple tests here, isolated tests. So you can have that, multiple. So the describe has a string. Just name it whatever you want. And there's a callback. So basically, this describe, as you can see here, is just a function that you're trying to call. And with two parameters, you need to provide two arguments, right? First parameter is a string. As you can see, it's a string. The second parameter is a callback. What is a callback? Callback is just a function. This is called callback. So name of the describe and the callback itself. And then inside of that is another function that you're trying to call, which is the test itself. And it has two parameters again. And you have to pass two arguments. The name of the test should, normally start with should, multiply two arguments correctly. And then the callback. Looking at inside this callback, we're now using the functionality itself, multiply. 3 times 3, we have this result. And now we can assert the result. So I'm expecting result to be, best practice is to fail it first, right? That's the best practice, to fail it first. Try to fail it first. You can just put here error 8. And we're going to run this, by the way. What else do you have here? This is your utilities. And you have a lot here that you can use. To be visible, to be close, to be invalid, to be null, to be truthy, undefined, to be visible. It's just English here. That's why it's very, easy to write this. Now, done with, yes? Yellow lines, yeah. Just yellow, not red, right? Not red, okay. Yes? No. It's part of what Bun is using and Jest is using and Vitest is using. This is Vitest, we're using Vitest, but all of them are supporting this completion here. That is assertions. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily. All of them is like, that's a good question, by the way. But Jest, Vitest, and Bun, they're just test runners. Those are just tools that run your tests. The way you write tests, simply the same. same same code that you can write, and basically you can replace which runners you want to use. You can go back to Jest without changing any code here. You can go back to Bond, you can go back to Vitest. It's just those three are just things that, tools that can run your tests. But basically the way you run it, that's why it's, drop-in replacement. You can copy paste whatever, or you're not copying anything. You're not pasting anything because you're just going to like npm install something, just installing other test runner, and then it's gonna work. Good, thank you. Done with this. After this, how to run the test? Of course, we need to run the test, right? You go back to package.json here. This package.json. And we're gonna write this. Wait. This one. Just add this. Maybe below the build. Test unit watch. For watching, it's gonna constantly watch any changes in the test file. UI, if you're not a fan of terminals, if you want to see the test results in a separate application, you can run this. Test unit coverage, you can also run this. Oops. Just to see the coverage also. So we have 4 scripts here that you can use. Again, this is inside the package.json. By default, yes, I think nowadays they're latest, but before it doesn't have any watch. But now I think it watch. And UI and coverage. Okay, to run this test, npm run test.unit. Is it passing? Is it passing the test? Or no, because you changed it to 8. So try to change the expected value here. So the best practice is make sure that if you purposely change, fail it, it should fail, right? Because if this thing it's passing, even if it's 8, there's a problem in your code. So again, if you try to fail this test but it's still passing, meaning there's a bug in your code. So the best practice is try to fail it first, and then okay, it's failing. Now I'm going to go back to 9. That I know it's gonna be 9. 3 times 3 it's 9. So it should pass. Yes. npm run test unit. Okay, it's not. Anyone who has a problem running the test?
I don't know why, because for example, not talking there are those yellow lines, but there is a red one. It's not that visible, but.
Let's see here. Maybe it's next. Are you using backtick there? Can you convert the same as this one?
Yes.
Yes, it's
Oh,
passing
okay,
now.
pass detected.
Yes. Thank you. Anyone? All good? All good? It's passing. Failed to. uh, That's compute. Oh, I think it's just sit two. Hold on, I'm just going to. Oh yeah, multi. Fine. Um, it's just the ES link. Can you convert this into single quote?
Yes.
Yeah, single quote. And then remove the. Why is it? Can you also remove the? Why is it red? Okay, just run it again. Just run it again. Mm-hmm. This is just comment. It should be as computers.
You want me to erase that?
Oh yeah.
So I was going to
Okay, let's
cut
run
it.
it and see. Mm-hmm. Mm, even npm. Did you npm install? Yes.
Yes.
Vitest is. I couldn't see. It's not. It's not failed to load custom reporter from verbose. This is a. This error is not. It's not about the Vitest. This is not about the Vitest. Error failed load custom reporter from verbose. Can you Google this?
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
this is
try
not.
to.
This is not. It's not a Vitest, and then I'll come back. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All good. Oh yes. Uh, the this one. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. What is said? Um, can you do another npm install? And then what Node.js are you using, by the way? Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. What Node version are you using? Let's see.
Probably.
Node 18. 18 should work. Hmm? Can you delete the node modules and then run it again. npm install. Let's see. Yeah. I'm going to. Anyone? Yes. Mm-hmm.
Is that part 1337?
It's a port number because it's going to. You can use that, guys. You can try the test unit.ui, so you can see this. You can try this. Try this also running this, and try also running this, so you can see what this two is doing also. Mhm. It's not working also. Yes. Verbose. What node version are you using, by the way? 16. Not necessarily. Yeah. Can you try the yeah? Thank you. What about yours? npm run missing script test.
I think there's missing something here.
Oh yeah, comma here, comma. Then here also comma, and another curly braces. Oh no, provider. Let's see. Provider. Hold on. Mhm. Then comma here.
And then comma. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's weird that you have. Okay, we can just skip this for now. Yeah. Yep. This is the same as yours. Yeah, you can exit X and then run it again. Test unit. npm run. No, maybe you haven't saved this. Yeah. Errors.
Because I got the 8.
Okay, yeah. Then pass it to 9. Save. Save. Don't forget to command S, so you can save it. Mhm. Mhm. Um, Bitconfig, I think there's. Yeah. I think you have a missing. Yeah. Server. You have a missing curly brace, or yeah. Okay, let's move to another one. Okay, guys, let's write some mocks, API mocking. We're gonna fix those later, those error later. In mocks, please create maybe just hero handler and index this file. Hero. So inside, create this mocks first, this folder mocks, and then create server.ts file. We're going to fix this later. and then handlers. Inside the handlers, which is a folder, gonna be like this. I'm going to delete this first so you won't get. No, handlers is inside the mux. In the. Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So same, so correct. Inside the SRC, there's a mux. So you would see that they're on the same level, and then mux, server.ts, and then handlers, hero handler, index.ts. So inside the handlers, guys, hero handler ts and index.ts. So for MSW, this is latest version, by the way. They just released it the other day, and we're gonna use the new version of MSW. And it looks like something like this. I'm gonna wait. Done with this, foldering and files. So the handler, it looks like this. This is API mocking, by the way. So first is, we're going to import HTTP response because we're going to fake the response. And that's from MSW. And another one is our HTTP helper, which mocks the HTTP. And then, okay, I'm just going to wait for you. And then API base URL. So any request to the backend, any HTTP request to, this is the pattern of my backend, by the way. There's an API. So any request coming, going there. So we're going to have the base URL, so we don't have to copy and paste this. And then after this, we're gonna make an array with 2 objects. Okay, yeah, sure. And then 2 objects, as you can see here. This is just an array, right? Name it heroes, with 2 objects. So as you can see, 2 objects. First object, and then second object. Let me know if you're done with first object. So this is called fixture. Fixture is a fake data that you're getting. By the way, this is called, also known as fixture. This fake data. Okay, yeah. Done with the first object. Second object would be this one. So done with the objects. Second object, not yet. Okay. Fixture. So again, this fake data is also known as fixture. So if you encounter that in any frameworks or any, like this is a concept. Fixture is just a fake data. All good? So after the fake data, we will have a handler. So it's just an array we're exporting. And inside of this array will be the handler itself. So we're just gonna name this hero handler because all the requests here will be related to that endpoint, which is hero endpoint. So export cons hero handler, and then first would be this one. So as you can see, your request to this API / heroes will be intercepted. So it will not go to the back end, right? It will just be intercepted, meaning it's gonna be blocked. And then HTTP response, JSON, we are returning the fixture that we created. And that's what we're going to assert later, that there will be two objects in the UI. And the second will be intercepting the delete functionality. So in the delete, we're just going to say that it's 200 okay, that we're all able to delete it. That's enough. So again, intercepting. And then the post also, we're going to mark the post here. And that's it. The other one is 404, by the way. I'm going to put it here so you would see it. So this is the mocking API, right? The library itself. But we're not yet done here. We have to run this and make sure to only run this during the test and then stop it after the test. Done with this? Okay, sure. All good? All good there? All good? The post? Okay. So I'm just going to buy back this. Um, okay, next would be the index file. So in index file, we're just going to um, import the hero handler like this. And then doing this spread operator for all the handlers we created. But for now, it's only one, right? It's only hero handler. So if you have another handler here, you're just gonna do spread operator, spread array operator, and then another handler, something like this. So this is just one-time setup. No, not one-time setup. Yeah, but basically it's easy. Just add it here. Add and add. This handles not singleton. State gets destroyed per request. All good with this? All good? All good there? Good, good. Okay, so you can see that we are exporting the handlers, right? And then we're going to import this also in another file in the server here. So this is the server of this MSW. So you have this server.ts, right? So we need set up server from MSW node, the handlers itself, those interceptors that we created. And then again, exporting it because we're not going to, we have to run this server, and we're going to run that in the life cycle of the test itself. You're going to see it later in setup test. So this is the part of I'm talking about earlier that, you know, it's going to be tough for junior developers, especially they still in this, you know, process of learning things. If you ask them to set this up, so this is our job, you know, senior developers, this is our job to set this thing up and make sure that any developers who will start coding in the code base can have this easily, they can easily run, write tests and run tests. All good with this? Okay, so after that, let's go to the root folder, go to src, and add this file here that's set up test.ts. And there's a bit of a setup here. Just don't write you can just read this, but you don't have to write this. It's going to take a while here. These are just notes here. Okay, import testing library JestDom, because we're going to test the components, right? We're going to test the components, clean up. We're going to do clean up or destroying the resource. So that's why we have clean up. Again, importing the whole JestDom object or interfaces, clean up, for cleaning up, for destroying resources that you created, cross-fetch. This is to replace the fetch, the browser fetch. We're going to fake it. We're going to bring it in the server. But I think the latest Node.js version right now has this fetch API, but I haven't tried it. But this works. This thing works. Again, the idea is to bring this fetch API from the browser and bring it to the server. Again, the latest Node.js, I think already have this, but we can try. I can try later removing this. Life cycles of the tests, before all the tests, after each, after all, Vitest, and finally, the mock server, the MSW that's set up. We're now importing it here. So I'm just going to wait for you. Can I scroll down now? So you can see here, before all the tests, we're going to run the server. That's why we have it here. And then after each test, we're going to reset the handlers so it won't affect the other tests, right? It won't pollute. It won't affect the other tests. So we're going to reset the handlers, making sure that it will be the resetting to the beginning. So again, you don't have to write this. You can just read this. And then after all, clean up, and then server close. We're going to close the server. So this runs the MSW server, and then also closes it. So that's the idea. We're going to run the API mocking server. We're going to use that inside this test lifecycle, as you can see, running it here before all. And then after each test, resetting it, the handlers, resetting the handlers. And then after all the tests, clean up, and then server close. Shut down the server, right? This server is the API mocking server. We're shutting it down. And then done with here. We're done with this setup test. Different right test. Okay, we're almost done here. Next is to write some tests. Component testing. Test pages. All good with this before we move to writing tests? Okay, so writing tests, go to pages, create this pages folder, look at here. Now create a test folder, again, inside the test pages. And then, yeah, then maybe this one first, heroes page.test.tsx. Just this one, just this heroes page.ts, the test, that test.tsx. Okay, sorry, I forgot something here in the Vite config. That we have to put this. Go back to your Vite config. We have to use the setup test that we just wrote, and then put it there also. Environment, JS DOM, so we can use the browser. And then set up files. This is the setup test that we just wrote. So we're going to use that in the configuration of Vitest. So again, update the config.ts. All good with this? All good? So let's go back, going to jump back to that file, the heroes page.test.tsx, right? And it looks like this. We need the render, we need the screen, heroes page. And guys, look at here. The idea is, this is a page that we're trying to render. And now, if you're curious what this is heroes page, you can take a look what's there. This is just a React component that has like a loop, like a for loop that shows different heroes. It's just showing different heroes, just like in a list, right? It's like we're trying to render it, and then go back. Hold on. You can see that we have an HTTP request. This is Axios. This is a library. This is an HTTP client library. So we're sending requests, get Axios, endpoints, just to see you which endpoints, heroes, right? And these heroes, this endpoint is what we're trying to intercept in the mocks here that you will see, right? We're trying to intercept that, right? That's what we are trying to intercept. So it has, this component has an HTTP request, but we are trying to intercept, and then returning the array that with the two objects, and that we are going to, assert here, expecting hero list length equal to 2, right? So after writing this, we're not yet done. We have to run the test. All good with this? This test? This all good? Before we move? Few more, okay? Oh, yeah, sorry. So guys, maybe you didn't see this. This is test utils testing library. Make sure that you're using this. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. This one? This one? You don't have it? Is it missing? Can you like command or control click if it will jump here? It's jumping. It's existing, the file. It's just the VS Code. Sometimes you have to like restart it, like reload window. Mm-hmm. Yes. Importing screen from here. Is this the same path? Like completion, auto completion, yeah. But most of you have like correct setup here. No squigglies or with the squigglies. The render or the screen, do you have a squigglies there? No. Testing library tools. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's already also passing. So we just need to reload this. Let's see. Sometimes it happens. We just have to reload the windows. Let's see it again. All good? All good. Oh. Mm-hmm. It worked. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Response is not defined.
Response. Oh, the response in the Mac not defined. HTTP response. Good job. Reference. Oh no, your page test. Oh, you don't have to do this anymore. Let's see. I don't know. But okay. The same. Okay, I'm going to try it again in the with the script the npm. Let's see if it's going to change. Any? All good? All good? All good there? Okay, so after this, let's see. Update the script. Oh, we have that already. Add play. So can you try to run it here in the terminal if it's the same? And run also your test, guys. Is it passing when you're running it? Terminal is good. Okay, it's just the extension. So you should see that it's passing also. So it's passing also in others. Passing also good. Passing. Passing there. Same thing. npm run test dot unit, or you can use also the with the UI. A warning or error? Error. See that. So this is the Vitest UI. So I use the UI. Let's see. It's not yet appearing. Takes time. I use query. No query client set.
Maybe we forgot something.
It's here. It's created. No is query client. You're able to add the set of tests also. JS DOM. And then testing library. You have the query client provider. Just going to ask. Any guys, do you have any error with use query client? Or also?
The test I ran was the multiply one.
Hmm?
The test I ran was the multiply one.
Oh, okay. You don't have the. Hold on. We're going to go back. Okay. With this, or did you save this? Test.
My saving at least right now is automatic.
Don't forget to save your work. I think it's work. Okay, okay. Save, it's passing, passing. It still. Oh yeah. Test the TSX. Oh, change it to TSX.
Oh, okay.
Then try it again. Okay, just try it again because this has
Okay.
yours is JSX, right? Let's try it again. Oh, one pass, one. You can look at the code next to my GitHub. Yeah, and you can click this. Excuse me. Yeah, and you can just compare because the finished product is this one.
Oh, okay.
You can just like compare. Okay. By the way, this is the Vitest UI. Now you can see that you have the UI representation of here, and you can run this in a server, and a static. This is just a static so that your boss, your project manager, your team lead can see that everything is passing. So the idea of this should be deployed in S3 bucket or Azure storage account. So every time you have this CI/CD, it will just deploy it there, and then your project manager, product owner, and team lead would see that everything in the code base is passing. Okay? So we're done with Vitest. Let's move to, because we only have a few minutes more, half an hour. Let's go to Playwright. Is that okay? So in Playwright, let's move to Playwright. So this is a different testing idea. You're testing the flow of the user. So it requires a running application. So but basically you can test anything, any existing website. You can test it on your own. Okay, we're going to learn this first before testing other websites. So first is we need Playwright config. This one. Just create this below your. So this is gonna be in the root folder. So along with package.json, playwright.config.ts. So this is the code. Oh, change this to npm, by the way. Change this to npm. It's not npm. So we need this Playwright test config to give us IntelliSense, web server. What's the configuration of web server? Command. So again, the E2E needs a server. The application it should be running because it's going to web scrape the application. That's the idea of this E2E. So the web application should be running. You can run the web application using this, and then port, telling the web server configuration that we are running in this port 5173, the application. However, if the application is already running, you don't have to command npm run it. You can just reuse existing server that says we have this. Reuse existing server. Because sometimes, you're developing, you're running it already there, and then writing tests. You don't have to, if you don't have this, it will just run the application. But, if you have in your local development, you're writing code, running the dev environment, just reuse existing server, the dev environment. Test directory, source, E2E. We're going to make that fully parallel, so you can run tests simultaneously. Reporter, HTML. Done. We're going to use this reporter. Export default config. All good? Not yet. All good? So, you also have, but you don't have to write this, by the way. Devices that you can use Chrome, Firefox, Safari at the same time for testing. Okay, you don't have to do this. I'm just showing you that you can, and there's a lot more here. So after the config, go to src and then create this E2E file. E2E file, and then Heroes page, homepage. Just create this file here, this first homepage.test.ts. And then this is the file, by the way. Oops. So we're going to complete this later. So test, so coming from Playwright, test should have visible title message. Await. So we're going to do this asynchronously. And then we're going to get this page, telling the page to go to. So as you can see here, we are guiding the E2E test. Go to this page, get the H2 on the page, content H2, and then expect to be that it has this message. Well, actually, this is it. I'm going to show you that. So you would see what we are trying to test here. Hold on. Or you can just remove this. Maybe just welcome to Sustand. But you have to change it also. Yeah. Should contain, yeah. To contain. Yeah. Oh, I forgot. The tick. Oops. Contain. Forgot. Hold on, really quick. Slash to slash. Maybe it doesn't work here. Oh yeah, it works now. It works, you just have to wait. So what is this, guys? So look at here. This is a part of testing. And this is a legit code, by the way. This is slash, slash, and I. So in front-end testing, this means that disregard the casing of the string here. So we're just going to ignore whether you have this. It will just ignore this, this camel casing or uppercase to just welcome to Sustan, something like that. Gets it? So this is a legit syntax. Try it there in your code. And this is not only applicable in Playwright. This you can do this also earlier in the Vitest, Jest, or Bun. This is just to ignore the text here. The I is just a regex, by the way. Ignore. This is just a regex. Yeah. That will just ignore the case sensitivity. Mm-hmm. Okay, done with this. We can update now the package.json scripts. With this E to E, so all the way to yes. So this is running the test, and this is for debugging your failing test. So sometimes you need to debug it. You can do this later, by the way. It will try to, give you this step. It's like a debugger tool that you can. It's like a breakpoint that you can step over, step into, step outside. Code gen. This is really good. But before we use this, we need to make sure the application is running. Or I think we can use Facebook here. Let's try this. What's oh, we can try this later. We can change this to any URL, by the way. Let's try this. Facebook. Just curious if it's gonna work. .com or any. What's the URL of TikTok? TikTok is this. TikTok.com. Is it? Going to run this test E to E. Okay, just try to run this first, this test E to E before running the code gen, because this is E to E. You need to make sure that your test is passing. I'm just going to show you how the code gen works. TikTok.com. Okay. Give me TikTok. Oh, fuck. Okay. Yes. CodeGen, by the way, this is what's good about Playwright. It will generate this code. So this is your test now. As you can see, import test, expect, right? This is what you written earlier. And await page, go to TikTok. And let's say I'm going to test that this cookies here exists. I'm going to grab this. Look at the right here. Click this. Get page by text. Click. Or maybe this accept all. Yeah. Click. So what's going to happen is, I'm not sure, it depends on what you're trying to test here. Maybe this one. To do pasaro. I don't know. Like, what's the latest in TikTok now? Because it's just going to get by placeholder search. And if I type something here, what usually is good to see in TikTok? Cooking. I don't watch anything but cooking. So you can see it's peeling here. See, right? And then after that, clicking this. So now I can assert if this CAPTCHA exists. I can verify this. Yeah. So you can copy this, by the way. Copy, bring it to your code. So TikTok page test.ts. Going to press this. And then I can just remove some. Doesn't make sense here. So I'm thinking of now, all the way here is to expect. So this is the assertion is what's missing in the CodeGen, because the CodeGen doesn't know what you're trying to assert. So this is assert here. So maybe expect search exists. I can get this. Search component. To be, I don't know. That's just routine. Exists. So this is it. So I'm just going to make sure that the search box exists in TikTok. So that's CodeGen. So you can do whatever. So imagine if this like a form. What kind of website has a lot of forms? LinkedIn. Sign-in page of, oh yeah, this one, right? So if you want to grab this, and then Devlin Duldulao gmail.com, password, this is not, okay, and then clicking this. So as you can see, I should be able to see something there. So get by label field. So this is how you're going to generate code this about this CodeGen. You should try it. Try it now. Again, what's the try it if it's going to pass. So you can see that it's going to the page, right? Scrape it, and then you can run this and make sure that it's passing. It's passing. The TikTok page. Let's see. This one. Yeah. Did it navigate? Also, okay, here. Up. The contain here is, oh. So we have a failing here. It's to be, it doesn't want the contain. And then this is the report, by the way. This is the, automatically it will report to you what's failing. Ah, yes. Debug mode, yes. The code gen or the debug? This one? Yes. Yes. Yes, we can. I can show it to you. It's not running in WebStorm. This one, but it. Okay, let me show it to you. If it's just here. Let's see. And it looks like this. So Playwright debug. It's going to open up this. It's like a debugger tool here, as you can see. And you have this step right to one by one, heroes. It's loading. The IDs. Here. I'm not. I don't think so. You cannot see it. The ID itself. Yeah. Yeah. But actually in CodeGen, it's not querying by ID. By the way, guys, that's a good question. I'm just going to show you. Sorry, I is that in tests, in writing tests. For example, here in heroes, you have this attribute testing. This applies both for the Playwright, the end we used earlier. So what is this? You can have like different. You should for example go to documentation, right, of this Vitest or React testing library, and they would tell you there that use this syntax data dash test ID to query this particular div. So that's how you can get this particular div and test what's inside this div. Okay, you can use classes or H1, this role here, but I wouldn't recommend using classes as the way to query this component, because classes is a style, and most of the time in front end you change the style of CSS, right, or the content. I would highly recommend to use a test ID. At least it's not easily break. It will not easily break your code, your tests, since you're using test ID and not classes or style to query the component, or H1 or paragraph or tag. This is highly advisable to use test ID to query the component that you're trying to test. And this applies to both Vitest, those component testing, and end-to-end testing, like Playwright and Cypress. Yeah, I think this won't. And by the way, you can also remove this. For example, Devlin, if I have a huge application or huge code base, can I strip this away from the production? Can I, because this is gonna be a lot in the HTML, right? And it's gonna be all over the source code if you start to deploy the application, and it can also add up to the file size of the code base. So there's a way to, in production it will just strip away all this test ID. But anyways, when you're doing this code gen, the code gen won't automatically query the component and use this test ID. It will just use what you see earlier. I think it's here, TikTok test. Get by role, get by text, it not get by ID. Okay. Which one? Code. Yes. The latest is the debug, for you to debug failing tests. If you're not, you can see how the test is running. I'm gonna do it again. Running it so you can see. So that the debug will open this window with this step through, so you can see clearly. And where are you? It's paused here, so it's still. So move. You can see navigating to heroes, waiting until load. So it's going to load. And then click. So this is for debugging. Now going to context, H2 to query it. So locator H2, as you can see, it's querying it. And it's passing. So this is the part for the debug. And the TikTok here, click. So you can see, it's also, you have this, right? For the debug, just to see. So yeah, very helpful, this debug here. Oh yes. Which is script here? Let's see. NPM random. Good, thank you. Good. So, I know you're tired. Any more question? Yes? Reusing the test. What you can reuse code, but are you referring to code? Oh yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Oh yes. In Playwright, it's just a function. It's you have to create a function and you can import it here. You can create an abstract like that. You can create an abstract and then import it here. Yeah. It's examples. I don't have an examples here. Sorry. It's in my Cypress. I have actually two types of end-to-end workshop. The other one Cypress. I have one in Cypress, but here I don't have. But it's doable. It's common. It's a common pattern in end-to-end testing, and you're not alone. Like everyone's doing what you're thinking right now. Mhm. Mhm. Thanks. Good question. Any more question about Vitest and Playwright? Uh, so if you're thinking of including this in CI/CD, Playwright and Vitest, they have good documentation where you can use this in GitHub Actions or Azure DevOps or in your AWS or Confluence. Could be Confluence if you're running it in Bamboo or in whatever Atlassian tools you're using, in GitLab also. So all of this, it's well documented in their website. Normally, you're gonna run this in CI/CD. Yeah. So any more before we end this? So what's your feedback in the code gen? It's okay that it will just generate for you the code, right? And you can just copy and paste it in the file. So yes, we have lunch break in 7 minutes, but I want you to go to restroom first before going to your food. And I want you also to be there first because the line's gonna be long. So guys, thank you very much for spending time with me here. Yeah, I highly appreciate coming here, learning something new in writing tests, learning what's new in JavaScript world, in testing frameworks, and yeah, give yourself a round of applause. You're the heroes here. Thank you again. And see you around. I'll be also going around walking and getting some loot bags from the booths. T-shirts for sure, and socks.